to Simpler. We are three pastors, husbands, and fathers on a journey to make life simpler by holding Jesus as the core for every belief and practice. This journey has shaped us to be more like Christ, freed us from the shame of failure, and encouraged us to a deeper love of our Lord and God. We invite you to join us in the discussions that have shaped and continue to shape our lives.
I just got some pull-up bands, like
pull-ups.
Yeah, pull-ups.
I really thought you were going to say pull-ups.
I wanted to potty train myself, like Riley's doing. I just got some pull-up bands, and they
is that different than the diapers?
Yes,
it's just the band.
it's for chin-ups. Here,
this is
chin-up band.
This is like the string bikini.
That's what I was thinking too.
Like a sumo wrestler kind of thing. It just sits in there. But I felt like it's sort of cheating because when you're fully extended down, it pops you back up. Like when you're pulling back up, it's giving you that extra like pop back up. And I thought, man, this is kind of like cheating because I'm not doing the full weight of it. But one of the things that I've realized, like one of the things that a lot of people say with working out is you're trying to get muscle fatigue. If your muscles never get tired, they're never going to grow. Mm-hmm. So with the bands, like without the bands, I might be able to do like 5 or 6 chin-ups straight, like strict pull-ups without resting. But with these, I can do almost 15. And so by the end, I'm able to get 15 because it's giving me a little lift. But by the end, my arms are on fire because it's making I'm able to do more.
Yeah.
And so I've just started using them this week, and I'm excited about it because it's like, all right. And there's 3 degrees of bands so that as you get stronger, you can drop down the elasticity. And so I'm interested to try that and see, because I feel like I've been doing chin-ups and stuff almost every day since June. And I feel like I've kind of stagnated. Like I haven't been able to make any more progress.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah. And so I'm hoping that this will push me over that edge.
So what is it?
So they're really, think like a 6-foot rubber band.
Okay.
That's basically what it is.
And
so
you put it up.
You put it over the pull-up bar, and then you put your feet in it. So it's stretched out. So that when you go to do the pull-up, it is lifting you. It is contracting.
I got you.
And lifting you up as well.
I was thinking, with my first mind, you like to do chin-ups on. I was thinking you had that rubber band and you're just like boing, boing.
On the rubber band.
No, right? You're trying to maintain control.
You stand in one spot and you pull it down.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, how do you not get slingshotted like out of there? But that makes way more sense.
Yeah. So you just kind of, you fold it on itself onto the bar, and then you step in the loop at the bottom.
It hasn't slipped out from under your feet or anything?
Dude, I focus on that a lot.
So scared.
Because this one that I'm using right now, I've started with the strongest one that I got out of this 3-set, and it's like 2.5-inch band, like in terms of thickness, right?
Yeah.
And all I can imagine is that slipping off my foot and catching me in the nuts.
Yeah.
Because when it's completely contracted, it sits at my chest.
So it could just rip you in half.
It would rip me in half, nuts to sternum.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so I focus a lot
nuts to sternum.
on keeping. Yeah.
I'm going to get you a t-shirt.
Yeah, I know. Kind of want to make that a goal.
D's. On the back, it says nuts to sternum.
Nuts to sternum. We should pick a phrase like every year whenever we do like checkups at our doctor's bag. You have to say the phrase nuts and sternum at least once during your check. The pain's kind of between my nuts and sternum. Oh, man. Well, hey, speaking of nuts and sternum, let's go on over to the PCC, everybody. Hey, welcome to the PCC. So, this is in light of the holiday season, in light of, when most people say that, they mean Christmas. I'm talking about Thanksgiving. What's up? Happy week.
Which for a lot of people seems like it's the beginning of Christmas anyway.
That's true. Yeah. It's
and for some people, Christmas started in October.
Dude, so long ago. Anyway, so Thanksgiving, I was thinking about grocery stores, and I was thinking about how much I used to despise, like hated HEB. Hated HEB. I know that weird. So I grew up, when I was a kid, I grew up in Midland, and we didn't have an HEB, I don't think. Or at least we didn't go to it if we did have one.
Not back then, no.
Okay. Yeah. And when I come here, we go grocery shopping with my grandma. And I remember thinking like, gosh, it's so narrow. Like it's hard to get, like there's always someone in your way. And my experience was dictated by that of just like trying to be in a hurry with my grandma and everybody being in the way. And also like,
grandparents, I feel like, are the most impatient people, but then also the slowest people at the same time. And they're also then really fast when they want to get something done. So like my grandma was all over the place at the time. She's complaining about me being slow, and then she'll just kind of chill in the salad section for a while and be like, lettuce, So my whole experience was just wrapped up in trying to hurry with my grandma and people being my way. And then even like moving here and going there, I was like, oh, this is just, see about Walmart. Walmart's built for fat people. It's built for fat Americans, like those wide aisles. Like you don't need
Except I feel like lately, everybody parks in the middle of the freaking aisle.
Yeah, that dude, right? Oh my gosh. The other day there was a woman who looked me in the eye and she pulled her cart in, then pulled it like perpendicular to the aisle and then just left it there and then walked away to go buy some stuff.
She does not want you to pass.
I was like, what are you doing?
You shall not pass.
Yeah. So I kind of scooted it away.
Yeah, you're right. The aisles are wider for sure.
They're so much wider. So I was like, Walmart's the better one for sure. But Hannah, once I got married, she stuck to her gun. She was like, H-E-B is the best. And I was like, you're a liar. You're a liar to my face. And I want to say now, like in light of, we're going to be doing a lot of grocery shopping, like getting prepped for everybody. It's going to be at our house. I'm so excited to do it at H-E-B. I like H-E-B so much, but I don't know if Hannah just like brainwashed me.
It's so much better.
It's so much better. When also it made me realize like, we're here for a few years and then we go to be with Jesus. You might as well shop somewhere shop somewhere you enjoy,
Please send that into their marketing team, right? And ask them that's the new commercial.
Because I've been to other grocery stores where it's just in and out. You have to do your business. Whereas like we have to get your stuff and go. Whereas like at H-E-B, it's like, oh, try this sample. It's an experience, right? And what sent it over the top for me is we went there at this point now, a few months back, and no, it was right at the beginning of October. That's what it was. And Hannah and Riley we had just gotten to the back of the store. We were starting to do it. We do produce first, kind of circle around, then go up and down the aisles, then hit the freezer section, then go out.
You have a plan.
We have a section. We have a way that we do. I mean, we kind of mosey as we're going, but like that's the general map of what we're doing. And Riley was already in the back. They were already starting the aisles. And I was like, oh, shoot, I forget what it was. We forgot avocados. So I was like, well, I'll run back to produce. Riley is at that stage where she's either 100 miles an hour or negative 100 miles an hour. So we'll just, instead of her just kind of tiptoeing around the store, I'll run up there, grab it, come back. As I'm running, I walk past one of those free sample booths and she says, "Sir, would you like some sushi?" And I said, "Yes, that is exactly what I want right now."
That's why I was running over here.
She was like, "This is a crunchy dragon roll." And I was like, "Well, tell me all about it. Let's do it." So she gives me a piece of sushi. This is great. It popped in my mouth. And then I keep walking over to the avocados. And as I get to the avocados, a woman goes, "Sir, would you like to try Oktoberfest?" And she pulls out a bottle of beer, opens it and starts pouring it into sample things. And I was like, yes, I want some beer. And so I had some Oktoberfest while I was swallowing my sushi. I took a swig of Oktoberfest.
That's amazing.
And then as I was walking back by, I was like, that was really good. I'm just going to grab a 6-pack of that real quick. And so
they got you.
I had a couple avocados. And in the meantime, I had a little snack.
And meanwhile, you get back to Hannah with all this stuff. And she's like, wait a minute.
They got me.
I got sushi and the avocados.
Right. I found sushi and beer along the way. It's all that matters.
H-E-B is amazing.
Dude,
I'm all for it. The quality I feel like is so much better.
Oh,
the options are better. And I find myself
more
less
local.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah,
I
it's
also
just smaller.
find myself less frustrated when people park in the aisles. And here's what I also noticed at H-E-B. If someone's in the aisle, like if they've parked perpendicular, their cart, and you come by, they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And they move it out of the way. At Walmart, they look at you like it's the same people.
But it's a different environment.
Well, I'm more pissed when I go to Walmart than I am at H-E-B.
It's like those movies, where the guy walks through, some sad scene and everything's kind of dark. All the lighting is really dark, and then at the end of the movie, something changes and he's walking through the same scene, but now it's all light.
Or like
that's what it is.
The Seinfeld episode where he dates that girl who's like ugly in the dark and beautiful and all that.
Yeah, there's a certain lighting where he's like, "Huh."
That's so funny. Oh man, so. I'm glad we're in agreement there with we're united in our H-E-B front. I do want to know if we have any listeners that don't have an H-E-B or don't have a.
We are so sorry.
I kind of want to know what your shopping experience is like for the holidays. I mean, obviously it's hectic either way. Yeah, but I feel like there's a little bit better with just an experience. Just with the environment, it can be made. The hecticness of Thanksgiving shopping can be made a little bit better.
You know what I just thought about?
What's up?
The people that work at H-E-B, I feel like are happier too.
It's like the Chick-fil-A of grocery stores,
really
man.
Is.
Yeah.
Except they don't say "my pleasure," which is
I'm kind of glad they don't.
Nice.
Yeah,
it's nice. Oh man. Well, hey. Yeah, H-E-B. I wanted to hear from you guys about grocery shopping. Ryan,
H-E-B, not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor. I'm just happy to shop there. My wife changed my mind. Ryan, what are we talking about today, my friend?
Pierce love. Today, we try to do this. I think this is every year. So today we are talking about Thanksgiving and giving thanks and what we are grateful for, what we are thankful for in our lives. We're going to start with what we are thankful for in terms of kind of maybe some hard seasons we've had this year or things that God has used to stretch us or grow us. I am reminded of Paul in 2 Corinthians 1 saying that when he was in Ephesus, he says when he was in Asia, probably Ephesus, but when he was in Asia, he despaired of life itself so that he would no longer rely on himself, but on God who raises the dead. And I think that sometimes we forget to be thankful for those times in our lives that are difficult, that thrust us back into the lap of God. And so we'll start there, and talk about what we're thankful for.
From the negative.
Yeah.
Do you want to kick us off, Ryan?
I can start.
Or-
Yeah, go.
Please start with a lighthearted one that's still negative. But so in August, I was in Illinois for a disc golf tournament, disc golf chapel, stayed with a buddy of mine, Dwight. And Dwight had a 94 Jeep Wrangler in his garage. So when I got home, that he wasn't driving, just had it parked in the garage. And I texted him when I got home. I was like, how much do you want for it? Worked out a deal. I ended up being like halfway to Illinois the next month. So I just drove the rest of the way, picked up this 94 Jeep Wrangler, drove it home, and a couple stories from the Jeep Wrangler. But it has been a fun car to have and maybe some of the hardest vehicle experiences I've ever had in my life. So here's the beginning. On my way home, he told me he hadn't changed the tires in like 4 or 5 years, and you could tell they were not in great shape. But I was like, I don't want to buy tires in Illinois, partly because it's gonna take me a whole nother day to get home because I gotta, it's gonna take half a day to discount tire, I'm sure, to get tires, and then I'm not gonna be able to drive. Anyway, so I was like, I'm just gonna see if I can make it home with these tires because he had a spare, and I was like, sweet, if something happens, I'll put the spare on and go. What I didn't notice until later is that the spare was like
Rotten.
awful, like completely bald. Yeah. Anyway, so I get to northern Oklahoma. The trip was pretty, like the weather was pretty cool most of the way, which I think is what helped. I get to northern Oklahoma, it gets into the 90s. And I'd put it on a dolly trailer. I'm pulling it behind the Suburban. It's on a dolly trailer, which means the front two wheels are up on the dolly, the back two are on the ground. And all of a sudden I hear the blowout, and one of the Jeep tires blew, and I'm on I-44 in northern Oklahoma, which kind of sucks because there's only an exit like every 15 miles. And I had a blowout and literally pulled over, like, I'm not even joking, like 10 feet in front of the exit. Like I passed the exit, and I was just right past it. So I couldn't get off the interstate, like onto an exit. I had to just pull over the interstate. So put the spare tire on, realized it was really bad. So then I'm limping along down I-44, which has a minimum speed limit of like 50. I think everybody's flying past me, and I'm just going real slow. It's Labor Day. Labor Day. And so none of the tire shops are open. I get to the next town. So I had to get a hotel that night because nothing was open. Went to a tire shop the next morning just to get another tire so I could make it to the next town. And they didn't have any that fit the Jeep. And so anyways, finally made it to the next town. But I think the cool part of the story is I called Ryan and my dad as I'm driving that next morning after I left the tire shop, and they didn't have a tire. And I just told them both, I was like, listen, this tire I'm on right now is probably not gonna, like, it shouldn't make it.
Yeah.
So I need you guys to pray that God will let this spare tire make it. And I'm like, I'm not nervous often, but now I'm like a little nervous. Not nervous like I'm gonna get stuck, because if that spare tire blew, then all I would do is I would take the Jeep off the dolly trailer, and I would take the wheel off where the spare is and swap it out with the ones on the front. And I mean, it would have worked. It just would. I'd already taken the drive shaft out, so it just would have taken me a few hours to like just put the wheel on the back. So I was just like nervous because I was like, I don't want to go through this. I just want to be home. I'd already been gone for like a week and a few days. I'm just ready to get home. So I'm like gripping the steering wheel as hard as I can because I'm just like, I don't want this tire to blow. And as I'm driving, I realize I'm actually putting my trust in the tire. I've just asked Ryan and my dad to pray that God will help me get to the next town. Why is it that I asked them to pray, but then all of a sudden go straight back to trusting in the tire? And it just didn't make any sense. And it hit me like, if I've asked God and I say, I trust you for this, then I got to quit trusting in the tire. I got to start trusting in God. And I can almost see God like with his hand, like like holding the Jeep up as I go along. That tire should not have made it the hour and a half to Tulsa from wherever I was in northern Oklahoma, but it did. And as soon as I realized like I can't trust in the tire, I got to trust in God, I like loosened up and turned the radio on and just enjoyed the very slow trip to Tulsa. Instead of trusting in the tire, I learned to trust in God. So that was like, I think, a good experience for me. It was even though it was a rough night, having to spend a whole bunch of money on a hotel I didn't want to. My plan didn't go like I wanted it to, but it was a good lesson for me. A reminder that I can't just pray and then go right back to worry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I'm going to pray and proclaim to God that I trust him, then I need to trust him. So it was a really good lesson for me. And I'm glad it was a minor thing like that.
Yeah.
That was just a reminder of that, because it's easier, I think, in those moments to learn the lesson than it is in the like super, super hard things.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, Micah, this one won't be a surprise to you, because you and I, for 20 years, have had these conversations just about providing for our families and just kind of some of the worry that comes along with that. And as your family is not only bigger than mine, you have 4 boys, but with your high school boys eating you out of house and home, and like just there's expenses you have,
car insurance,
and car insurance,
Huge.
yeah, stupid high.
It's going to be in January when Aiden's on as well. So I have 2 kids driving. It's plus their vehicles.
Yeah,
is going to be an extra almost $400 in insurance
a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's insane. That's
Golly.
ridiculous. I'm glad that I have a few more years before that. But I work really hard at
You do.
my art. And this year, I just started off this year saying, okay, I'm going to try to paint twice what I painted last year. I'm going to hire some marketing. I'm going to really work to grow it. And so fired's the wrong term. My marketing team and I decided at the end of October we were done. I really liked them, but they had told me at the beginning, like, we don't really know how to market an artist. We want to try. And in the 10 months that I was with them, it didn't bring me a single sale, not one. And so I spent something in the neighborhood of like $12,000 for not just
you could have bought a bunch of 94 Wranglers for $12,000.
Yeah. Their fee wasn't super high, but then they would say, hey, we want you to try this, we want you to do that. And so I was trying everything they told me to try. The other thing was, because I was trying to create more art, I spent a lot more money this year on supplies. So last year, for example, I spent about $800 a month on paint and canvas, and this year it was close to $2,000.
Wow.
Just to create, I was creating like crazy. And so while I had a decent year in art sales, and hopefully we'll sell some, this coming weekend with the Small Business Saturday, I always do a sell, but so hopefully it's not over for the year.
Yeah.
But June, I didn't sell anything. July, I didn't sell anything. So June, July, August, September, and October, 5 months, I sold 3 paintings, which is terrible. So my paintings, if you don't know, go for about $2,000 each. And I've been spending with my, I've been spending $2,000 a month on supplies, plus marketing, plus my studio space, all that kind of stuff. So I'm out $3,000 a month. So I've spent $15,000 a month and had $6,000 come in. And so that sucks.
Yeah.
September has been my biggest month. The previous 3 years in a row, I sell $10,000 in art every September. This September, I sold $2,000. Last year in October, I sold $10,000 in art. This year, I sold $500. It's just bad. Yeah. And I don't think I'm done being an artist. I think I need to tweak some things for next year. I probably won't be quite as aggressive. I'm definitely not doing the marketing, but it has put us in a financial bind. And so not only that, Michelle just had a root canal at the end of October. That was $1,400. Our insurance should pay $900 of that. And we should get that check by the end of the year. But anyway. And then she's had several dental things. All four of us have just had eye appointments. And anyway, there's just been all these extra expenses. Michelle's car, she was driving and the drive shaft fell out and had to get that repaired. And so there were all these things happening and I was just like, crud. And we just didn't have the money for it. And so I was looking at our investments and I was thinking, okay, like this is, Michael, what you and I've talked about a lot, is like, I'll take care of it. I'll do it instead of just trusting God. And it was really interesting because part of it was there was a part of me that I guess was like bitter or upset that I was gonna have to sell investments. Like this is for my family's future. This is for my kids' future. Like I've worked really hard over 10 years to put investments aside. I didn't start investing until I was 37. I've been working really hard at being wise with that. And it was interesting because God kind of quieted my heart and said, yeah, so why are you worried about 10 years out? Like, this, I've provided for you. This is my provision for you.
Yeah.
And so like my investments have done well. And so like God kind of quieted my heart. Well, then we went to pick up Michelle's car, which ended up, I think it was close to $2,300. And you, Micah, had taught to some people. I don't know who you taught to, but Micah had made some phone calls and said, hey, here's Ryan and Michelle's situation. And several families and individuals came together and paid for that. And so when we went to pick it up and there was no bill, like, man, that was such a blessing. I'd already sold these investments.
I know that was killing me. I didn't want to tell you, but like you told me the week before you just sold a bunch of Facebook, and I was like, dang it, I wish I could tell you.
But Pierce, you and I were talking at a staff meeting in October, and just I was telling you some things that we had done, and so we had sold some more investments. Basically, we're kind of like out of money, and so we're okay with that. And I don't know, something shifted in me. It's taken 20 years, Micah, but something shifted in me where I was just like, I just don't care anymore. Like, and it's not that I'm indifferent in a callous way. It's that I have watched God provide for me too many times to worry about my future, worry about something that legitimately is 10, 15 years out, or even if we're talking about Asher going to college is 5 years away. Why am I worried about 5 years from now? Like God can't do something, and I'm not done being an artist. I still sold $60,000 worth of art this year. I just spent 50 of that on marketing and cost and stuff. So next year I'll sell 60,000 and keep my cost down to 20. You know what I mean? Like it'll be different next year. But like this year was just a different year. It was a trying year. It was a growing year. But I have come to the place where I legitimately just feel at peace. And it doesn't hurt my feelings to sell some investments. And I had saved for 1.5 years to take Riker on his 12-year-old trip. We went to Pittsburgh in October and went and watched a Stars game, not a Stars game, a Penguins game, sat on the glass.
He's going to hate you.
We went to Pennsylvania just to see a Dallas game.
There were some people from Dallas on our flight that were going to, they were flying to Dallas to watch. I heard the Stars. They were talking on the plane. We're going to go see the Stars. I was like, oh, that's cool.
How interesting, yeah.
And then they're like, but the Stars are playing in Toronto tonight. So they flew to Dallas and then flew to Toronto to watch the Stars play. They were from Angelo, and I was like, okay. I mean, they play in Dallas pretty regularly. Yeah. Anyway, though, they're leading up to that trip. I was going, man. I'd saved like $2,000 for this trip for Riker, and it was money legitimately that I'd put aside for that. But with all these other things coming up, I was like, crap, we really can't be spending this money right now. And watching my kid's face, because he built this sign. He made this sign, built is the wrong word. He created a sign that just said, I came all the way from Texas for my 12th birthday for a puck. And we're sitting right on the glass, and he's holding that sign up. And a guy warming up throws a puck with his stick over the glass to Riker, and it has the date on it and the teams on it and all that kind of stuff. And then he held it up again, and he got a game puck from one of the refs. And so he's just like lit up. He's just like, this is amazing. And I looked and I thought, this is worth the $2,000.
Yeah. You'll get the money back.
And I was like, what's $2,000? It's another painting. I'll sell a painting. It'll happen, But I was like, I'm done. I'm done worrying about it. I'm done being anxious about it. I'm done counting my pennies. I'm not going to be stupid with my money, but I'm grateful. I feel like something.
You're just
shifted.
talking about the mental, the state of mind of how you approach those situations.
I used to live with anxiety and fear about that, and constantly distrust that God was going to do again what He'd done for me 1,000 other times. And something broke in me in a good way in October. It just brought me to the brink as another bill came in and another thing happened, and I just went, you know what? God is bigger than this. And something shifted. And I hope that it's something that has shifted for good in me. Yeah. Like, I don't mean for positive. I mean like forever. Yeah. I hope that this is something, but I am just so grateful that 20 years of being a crybaby, that maybe God has finally shifted something in my heart to just rest in Him and just find some peace and some comfort.
That's dope, man. So this year, Hannah, my wife, she is doing her nursing as a job, but she's also getting her master's in nursing education. And so that plus having a kid and everything, it's just busy. It's busy stuff. And so, but one of the things going into it, even before Riley was born or right at Riley being born, something like that, going into it, like we had that conversation. Like this is going to be busy. It's going to be heavy, but we have each other. Like we have the Lord, like we have a community. We have all these things. It's a really solid support system that we'll be able to push through that. And even if you miss some Sunday mornings, you miss some community groups, whatever that looks like we still have this solid support system, which shifting the mindset away from like law versus grace and stuff is a big help in that situation, because you're tended to be like, I'm pursuing a job over my perfect attendance at church versus like church not being about attendance. It's about the community. And so like, I would say that over the past couple of years, like we've had such a growth and a shift in community, which I'll talk about later. But we knew that busyness. We had a time period last semester where I was like, ooh, this is getting a little intense, a little busy, but hey, we're good. Like it's all good. We're fine. And then this semester, the fall semester, she decided to do what she did then. I think at that point, she was doing clinicals, schooling, and her job. So basically anytime that she wasn't at her normal job, she was either doing schoolwork or clinical work. So I really, even though she was at home, she was busy doing stuff. But the clinical stuff she did in the spring semester, I want to say stretched out like 6 to 8 weeks, something like that. And she did that in like 3 weeks this semester. Oh, and wow. So there was a time period where she worked 7 to 7, had that next day off. She got home at 7 a.m., had the rest of that day off, and then was at clinicals 8 to 5 the next day. And there was a period of probably like 5 to 10 days where that's what it was. Like Hannah wasn't home. Hannah was gone. And like, it was, it's funny. We talked about this before recording, Micah, that like, that doesn't feel detrimental. Last year I had a fake stroke. Like, this doesn't feel like big stuff, but it was something that like, while I was prepared for it, I wasn't fully prepared. hadn't gone through it. We hadn't gone through this. Well, you like
your wife.
I do like my wife. And so that's what it was.
She's
was like,
gone for 10 days.
There was this conflict of feelings of like, dude, another thing is like, I feel like I was always cleaning the house. I don't know if Riley's just the dirtiest person on the planet, but I felt like I was just.
She's 2.5.
I know, it's true. She's insane. Yeah, she's going through potty training as well, which is a whole nother thing.
Yeah. Hopefully you've got like real diapers and not just bands.
Yeah, pull-up bands.
Just the pull-up bands. So, but I was like, man, I feel like we're doing so much in the house and like getting nowhere. Things are going great at the 456. Things are going great with her, with the clinicals and with schools, and like we're striving in these areas we have, but like it just felt like the home life was kind of just lacking just in maintenance. It just felt like I was like, okay, well, I'm trying to kind of do everything in the midst of this. And I had a moment where I was talking with Hannah and I was like, what do you, how much longer is this happening? Just like trying to be like positive about it. But also then finally, like during that conversation, I was like, I'm going to say stuff that is not directed at you. And I was like, I don't like this busyness. I don't like this. I miss you. I miss spending time with you. I miss seeing you with Riley. Like I miss all this. And I know it's a season. I know it's a time period. And I know in order for you to finish your degree, like this makes the most sense on every front. Like I don't want to change anything. I just hate it. I was like, and like in the midst of us talking about it, she's tearing up. And I was like,
she felt like that was her.
Yeah. So she started to apologize. I was like, and that's not what I'm saying. Like, you don't have anything to apologize for. Like we signed up for this. We got into this and there's nothing I would change about it. Absolutely nothing. But I don't like it. And I was like, and so there's a couple things from that I think the Lord really kind of solidified in me as well as in our relationship. Like last year we went through everything with all my stuff medically. We ended up having to spend like $10,000 to $15,000 to fix our rent house. Like there was just like all these things financially, physically, that was just because Hannah had to go and pray for patience. And so the whole world flipped upside down.
Way to go, Hannah.
I know, right? And there was a lot that the Lord used to bring us together in the midst of that, as well as teaching and shaping our hearts and minds towards patience and reliance on Him and trust in Him. And that what's beautiful about that is that we were able as a couple to do that together. And so in this situation, it was just something like we can trust each other enough to complain. We can trust each other enough to acknowledge that this isn't our favorite thing to do, but in the midst of it, this isn't me saying like, hey, fix it. This is just me saying, I want to hug you and hold you for the 15 seconds you're home and let you know that I'm ready to be past this. I'm ready to be done. And also in the midst of that as well, I think something that the Lord's been teaching me just about kind of tear down my own filters and stuff is that, and this sounds so basic. I'm trying to figure, I was talking to one of our youth a couple weeks ago about how I want to figure out the right way to say this, but like basically where you have an understanding of one thing. So for instance, people's understanding is works of salvation is works based. And so like, that's their whole understanding of salvation. It's got to be this. And so therefore they end up 14 steps down the road at this assumption, but it's all based off this faulty foundation. So if we go back and we fix that foundation, you never end up over here. Let's correct the foundation with the truth, and then we can build upon the truth. And I think in the midst of this as well, it's just like widening my eyes of like me having an issue with something doesn't mean it has to change. Like me having an initial negative response to something doesn't mean that it is in itself bad or wrong. I'm going to rely upon the strength of the Lord. I'm going to rely upon the partner, the spouse that he's given me, and we're going to push through it, but nothing necessarily needs to change. So like switching the filter of this isn't a time to apologize. This isn't a time to change. This is just a time for me to just deflate and be like, man, this is not fun, but I love you and we're going to get through it. Like just to be able to express that. Cause I think we also live in a society where to express that means, okay, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? There's nothing
we have
to do.
To fix it.
There's nothing to do. And so in my mind, I didn't want to express it. That's why I went into the conversation like, well, how much longer do you have left? Like I'm going to be super positive about it, but I don't need to be positive. We can still push through it. And like I can,
you can grieve together.
And what I mean by that is not that I'm going to just tear down my wife or tear down my family. Like that's not what I mean by not being positive, but I can also just in reality of the situation be like, okay, cool, sweet. Let's go. Let's keep pushing.
I think it's kind of the concept of us saying like these negative things or bad or hard experiences is recognizing that we don't have to like everything for it to be beneficial in our life.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. 100%. And the Lord can use that as much as he can.
We can be thankful for those moments.
Definitely.
Not that we like want them to happen.
Exactly.
Well, and one of the other things,
that's flipping the script as well, kind of what I was saying a second ago.
One of the other things that Paul says there in the beginning of 2 Corinthians 1 is that God comforted him in these situations so then that he would be able to comfort others who are in the same situation. And so I think that we have an opportunity here that as we have seen kind of through the fog and seeing clearly who God is in these trying times, we are then able to offer that encouragement to the next person and turn them towards God. So like there's good in it. There's benefit in it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, sweet. I think in the midst of us acknowledging God working through the negative, we guys want to share God working through the positive as well.
Yeah. Some other things we're thankful for.
Yeah.
Micah?
Here we go. Yeah.
Man, there's been a bunch this year. There's been some cool spiritual growth in my teenagers. They're doing they're leading their own Bible study for our youth group.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which is pretty cool just to see that kind of like heart shift. Sometimes I feel like I'm such the extreme opposite of how I grew up in terms of like not programmed, organized. Like I'm not teaching my kids a specific like pattern to follow in terms of their spiritual growth, but to watch it happen apart from the pattern, just with the implication of like set your heart on Jesus, those important things. So it's been really cool. I'm super thankful for that growth and the growth at church as well.
Yeah.
I'm not even just talking about the numbers of people coming, but just the depth, I think, of how we've begun to grow more and more together as a community. Just to see lives being changed in terms of like people really beginning to understand who God is and who they are in Christ, and that allowing them to kind of experience the freedom of growth in life and a life lived for the glory of God. And I think by nature of that, we've seen some numeric growth as well.
Sure.
Hence moving to 3 services, which is a lot, but it's cool to see that that's where we are. Ministry's been really cool this year too. With the disc golf, I've done a whole lot more disc golf ministry this year. That's kind of become like the almost substitute to some degree for some of the events I used to go preach at. And then it'll probably be the same way next year. It's also a fundraise, so that was always kind of a fun battle.
Yeah,
I hate raising money. It sucks, but it was worth it. I think the ministry, man, it just was a great year of ministry as well on that. And then I'm also thankful for, because there's some positive with it as well, the 1994 Jeep Wrangler.
Hey.
Yeah.
It's been a fun experience too, like teaching me to be a better shade tree mechanic.
Better shade. What does that mean?
Shade tree mechanic would be, the idea is like, you're not a real mechanic. You don't have like a shop. You just like park it under a tree.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
You're not really a mechanic. You're like a tinkerer who doesn't really know what they're doing, but will jump in and try it anyway.
Yeah.
So that's been cool too, just to see like how, honestly, the reason I'm thankful for the Jeep is because my son Aiden is so excited about it.
Yeah. For me, I'm thankful for a lot as well. I don't know. There've been a lot of shifts in me. I think I shared with you guys, and I feel like it was May. I'm usually really good at these things, but I probably tried to blot this out because the day was traumatic. But I think I told you guys in May, after we had some hard talks that I really needed to have. I appreciate you guys a lot. That I felt like God was about to do something different in me, or change me, or shape me, or something. And I was super excited about that. And I will say that right now, I feel more excited and fresher and more invigorated than I have felt in a long time. And I don't mean to say that I have previously been dour or melancholy. Like, I enjoy ministry. I always enjoy ministry. I enjoy learning more about God. But there is something that has been lit in me, really, August, the end of August, and then beginning in September, I changed some things in my study time and different things like that. But I love to teach. I love to teach, and so I do Tuesday Bible study at the church from 1:30 to 3, and that has been really a lot of fun lately. Wednesday night Bible studies have been really, really great lately. In August, I think, or maybe the end of July, some friends of ours contacted us. Some friends of ours, Micah, contacted me. They're in College Station area, and they were going to do a small group for young married couples. Like, I think the person who had been married the longest was like 4 years, and they wanted some ideas for that. And I just asked if I could help, and they were like, "Yeah." And so I created a 6-video series for them to use in their small group, and I had a blast with that. And it just made me think, like, man, I want to do more. Like, with art, I create original paintings and then sell them, but I don't really have any passive income. So I started doing prints again this year, back in May, so that I have passive income, so that I don't always have to be creating. And I kind of thought, like, I want to create some passive teaching opportunities, and write more and create some more videos. And I don't know, I feel more spiritually alive right now, maybe, than I have in a decade. And
You've also been reading a lot more. This year.
Yeah. And I don't know, man. I just feel awake. And so I am incredibly thankful for that. I'm super looking forward to next year and seeing what next year looks like. I know that that's kind of irrelevant in the things of God, but as humans, we break things up into years. So we start thinking about what 2023 is going to look like. And I hope to continue rolling the last 5 months of 2022 right into 2023. I'm super excited about it. We leave in a few days for our annual staff retreat, where we go and kind of
pastor retreat,
where we plan, a lot of next year. And I always look forward to that. And I don't know. I feel sharp right now. So that's one of the things that I'm really thankful for. I feel like I'm seeing things in the scripture that in the previous 27 years of reading I've missed, and connections that I'm making that I've previously missed. And that's always exciting to keep learning. And so one of the things that I'm really thankful for as well is my family. Micah, you said that it's been neat to see your boys kind of take some ownership of their faith and really grow. And I constantly am like, man, am I doing a good enough job with my boys? Like, I'm constantly like, but we have had some really sweet times as a family this year. And we took 2 weeks away this summer in Colorado. We talked about that on a previous podcast, but we are definitely doing that again, because just those 2 weeks away and the rest that we had on that trip and the closeness that it brought in our family, like, I've really seen the fruit of that since then. Like, just the way we engage as a family, like, I think really needed that. And so it's just been really neat to see how close I think we are right now. Again, not that it was bad before, but it's just, there's something fresh about it. And so I'm just really grateful to God for those times.
Dope. Yeah, we had both. Well, all three of us had mentioned the 456. That's one thing that I'm immensely grateful for. You had mentioned them doing the student-led Bible study as well, Micah. That kind of came out. That started after camp, and so camp this past summer with our youth group, it felt like people were growing, but my tendency in the midst of a camp environment is to lean towards like, oh, this is a camp high. How do I? But in the midst of that, like I was trying to push myself. This was probably obviously the Lord pushing me. It was just like, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. How can we encourage them? How can we push them to continue to grow? How can we build up our community of youth? And so, what's been so amazing is that closeness that started then has continued on. And I think a lot of it has been pushed and driven by them, just by them growing and them desiring to do a Bible study with each other, them desiring to hang out outside of that. And so what was really nice, and maybe I don't want to say easy because it's my job, but like easy is that I can piggyback off of what's already happening and then have hangouts at my house, have movie nights at my house, go to the corn maze, do these things and utilize that closeness. They have a text thread as well that they'll take pictures of me while I'm preaching. Just send it to the text thread. And so like helping encourage that.
Quick.
And
Aiden is on the text thread, and he one day like hadn't looked at the text thread for a while, and he said there were like over 100 texts.
Oh, I'm sure.
So his goal was to get to 1,000 in a few weeks, like 1,000 unread texts on that. So a few weeks ago, he was opening his messages app to look at a text, and he accidentally clicked on it. And he was like at 900 and something texts. He was like, I was so close.
You know what's funny about that is I forget who I was talking to, but I was like, is Aiden going to be there? And they were like, I don't know what happened to Aiden. I guess he just disappeared.
That's funny. That's
trying to get the unread messages up there. That's so funny.
He's so much like me in that. It's like if there's a long text thread, I'm like, nope.
No, it's too much to catch up on. Yeah.
Just read the last one and go.
And just like it. Nice. I've been here the whole time. But yeah, so like it's been really, really cool to see them grow, closer as believers, as brothers and sisters in Christ, see them grow closer as friends. This year as well, we launched young adult services, young adult community group now. And that's been super cool to see. I mean, it's not a huge group, but what is great is it's so crazy, the shift between high school and like that age group. I don't know if it's confidence or if it's like you just don't care anymore about being the cool kid. I don't know what it is, but like I feel like with most high school groups, I really have to, even our high school group now that they're growing, I'll have to like push them to ask questions and like, what did you really think about that? Well, what did I really think about that? And they'll have to be like, that wasn't the initial thing. I guess maybe it's probably the switch of being out of the house as well. Like you have your own schedule, your routine that you're kind of told to do all the time. And then I'm like, well, stop. What do you think? What did you learn? How were you challenged? And you're like, wait a minute, how was that challenge? Versus like, I feel like with the students we have that are college age, young adults in their 20s, they've been out of the house, they've been thinking things. And so their first thought is like, I'll say, any questions from anything? Like, yeah. So the other day they said this, they're just like right into it. And that's been super cool. And in the midst of that, in the midst of seeing so much growth with our youth and within our young adult group as well, one of the goals with Hannah and us buying this house last year, last April, was we wanted specifically a place that was more open in the dining room and the living room, so that we could have more people over. So if we need to move our furniture, when we bought furniture that was easy to move, that could be modular, we could use that space for whatever we needed to do. And what's great is once a month we're having the high schoolers over and we're cooking dinner for all of them, and we have to get out the folding table and we put our table at an angle and we have the extended table over here. That's cool. So we kind of fill up that whole space. Everybody will chill in the backyard. We intentionally did a whole bunch of work in our backyard so we could use it for these things. And it's great to just be able to go outside and cook on the griddle. Thank you, Stacy. And have my cornhole stuff set up, have the furniture set up, and just look at people hanging out and chilling and just enjoying one another. Like,
that's fun.
Being able to have us, like we wouldn't have been able to do that with that many people at the Princeton house, by any means. And so thankful for the Lord's blessings that we were able, this is a house we shouldn't have been able to buy, but through, I think there was 3 offers that they talked to before us and ended up getting to us. And just, sure, it's not the most convenient location, but it's a place that we were able.
San Angelo.
It's 10 minutes away.
Yeah, you're not far.
Yeah.
So, but just I was talking with Hannah yesterday. I was like, we were just cleaning up, and there's a part of you that like, man, I have 1,000 dishes to wash. I got to fold up this table. I got to do this. But both of us are doing that with like a smile on our face because we're so thankful that the Lord has given us these opportunities just to open up our home. We love it. And in the midst of that as well, like, I think the Lord has really shown me that he's been cultivating these communities, cultivating our youth, cultivating our young adults as well. And one of the things for me was just being aware of, what does that mean for us kind of as the families leading it? Like, because all of us, you had mentioned on a podcast last month, I think, Ryan, that like we don't hang out socially anymore, but we see each other all the time, and we're talking about life, and we're encouraging one another, we're challenging one another, we're making nuts to sternum jokes.
We're in touch a lot. We're in communication a lot.
Yeah. So like,
I'm not sure I'm comfortable with you saying nuts jokes and then we're in touch a lot. Like, this is not the best correlation.
Yeah, we're in touch a lot.
Hey, does this feel weird to you? Would you look at this, please?
But I was just thinking like it was kind of like a background, like a back burner thought for me was like, okay, well, is there people that like peers that like, I have this, but is there peers that our family needs to connect to? And what's been great is that in the midst of me kind of thinking those things and Hannah thinking those things, both Katie and Luke Dufresne and the Flippins were like, man, we need to hang out more with each other. So it's not a ton. It's just whenever we can, but it's one of those things that's like, we're wanting to be intentional with the people that we have. And so like there's also a new level, as much as I love and get built up and encouraged by these different groups that I am leading, there's something different about like the rest that may come with like peers. And I don't know how to explain that. That sounds like one's better and one's worse, but like there's a level of like, I'm not leading anything. We're just hanging out. We're enjoying it. And while I may be the facilitator, I might be the one that may see the need for it in a deeper way. Like just as a pastor, I think that there's going along beside these peers. I'm just like, yeah, we're all parents with young kids. And we can just talk about life. Like there isn't something like I'm going to lead this group. And I don't know if that sounds bad or wrong.
No,
like,
it doesn't. It's just a different venue.
Yeah. And I think I would, because what's funny is most people hearing that might be like, well, it's just a job when he's with the high schoolers, but over here it's different. But definitely same level of encouragement of community. It's just different.
It's all inclusive,
and it's a
different environment.
There's a little bit different intent.
Absolutely.
Well, that would be the assumption that if you're a pastor, you cease to be a pastor.
Yeah, you don't.
True. Yeah. I'm pastoring all the time in the midst of this.
I mean, like, I think all of us have, even going to 3 services, I've had several people ask me like, man, is that hard? Are you regretting it? I'm like, I don't regret it a bit.
No.
Like I love it. Now, Sunday afternoons, I'm more tired, but
it's so funny. And that goes back to kind of what I was saying a second ago of like my filters kind of being shifted and changes because people will look at that and be, oh, you're more tired, therefore it's worse than when you weren't more tired.
Not at all.
No.
I love it.
Not one bit. Yeah.
I don't know. I really am I'm grateful for the people who are listening to our podcast. You told us in October last month, Pierce, you said that we had something like 20,000 listens on our podcast.
Surpassed 20,000. Thank you guys.
That's insane. Yeah. That's so stinking cool. And so I did the math.
Can I turn mine off loop now?
We have all these extra devices at home just constantly playing.
So we were averaging like 227 listens per episode.
Which is wild, right?
Yeah, that is. That's cool.
And that's just listening. It's not even with video stuff.
Yeah,
so
that's
like
awesome.
We're probably closer to 25,000 or 30,000, including video stuff.
Just my marriage videos. The first one had like, I don't know what it has right now, but it's 200 views, I think, in 2 months.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's super cool, you know? And so like, yeah, if you're not following me on YouTube, you're going, hey, I didn't know you had a YouTube channel. I did 5 years ago and then did nothing with it forever. But like, I am incredibly thankful for all the ministry opportunities right now. Like I am enjoying every bit of it. And so Sunday I preach 3 times. Monday we have staff meeting, which I always enjoy. Tuesday I do Bible study. Wednesday I do Bible study. Thursday I do lunch with some guys from church. Like anywhere from 2 to 5 guys show up. And it's just like, I'm having a blast.
Yeah.
Like I'm just incredibly grateful for all of this.
100%. Yep. That's me too, man.
It's fun.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll be honest with you I'm not trying to be sappy, and thank you for fixing your strings. They've been bothering me the whole episode.
I went to go scratch my beard and I'm like, what is this? Yeah. A little nub just sticking out.
It was your pull strings for your hoodie had been uneven the whole episode and it was driving me crazy.
I'm glad to know that's the thing about it.
Thanks, Micah. But I'm really grateful for you guys. I mean, Micah, you and I have been friends now for 20 years. And Pierce, you've been
a colleague at least for.
I mean, you are a really fine acquaintance to have. And No, but like I'm just grateful for you guys, and I love working with you guys, and I really do feel like we work well together, and that we trust one another, and that I feel like we can have hard conversations and shape one another. And,
well, it's good to have. I think it's good to have this model where we're all lead pastors and can lead together, and instead of just
it's not one person's job.
And I think that's been a benefit for all of us.
Yeah, and I'm just thankful for you
we
guys.
We need to do an episode on that sometime.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Our model of church.
Yeah.
I'll add it to the list.
Because people are like, "What are you talking about, lead pastors?"
Lead pastors.
This isn't like the billboards where it's like a husband and wife.
Who's the wife?
Can we do that? 3 of us on a billboard.
Forgot about that, man.
Let's do it where we're all like, it's like the prom pose,
yeah.
But we're all in a line where we have our hands around the guy in front of us' waist.
Dude, I went to.
That would be kind of funny.
Riley had a flu shot a month ago, and I walk into the office and they have this picture that I was like, oh, it's a stock photo of people with just sports stuff. And it was like a woman with a soccer ball under her foot. And she's like, she's like being sassy. There's a guy next to her on a bike and he's like smiling at the camera. And I was like, what a cheesy photo. Then I got closer and I was like, that's the doctors in this office. So they had all the doctors pose with all this stuff. And I was like, that's the pediatrician we're about to see right there on that bicycle with the helmet. And he's like, hey, everybody. That's awful. It's so goofy.
What's the advertising? Is it just a picture?
It's just them.
It's just to make you happy.
Hey, they're fun. They're fun pediatricians.
We're young and hip.
Yeah, hey, we do sports and fun things. And it's funny too because it's still that
I do a sport.
I do a sport. The pediatrician's office is still split between like if you're visiting for like just a checkup or a shot versus like if you're visiting because you're sick. You have like the sick side and the healthy side. And it was very strict when there was COVID. Like, do you have COVID? Like, you get over there. If you're just checking up on stuff, go over here. And so Riley was running around and I wanted to get close to the picture anyway. So I was like, wait, let's run over here. And Hannah goes, that's the sick side. And like, it was really brutal. And I was like, Riley, no. Because I'd like tackle her. You'll get sick.
You said, get over here. And I immediately thought of Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. Get over here.
Get over here.
And that's what I'm thankful for.
I'm thankful for.
Speaking of scorpions.
Speaking of scorpions.
Get over here.
We're at the Garden Audio with Steve.
Steven Yarbrough.
They call you Scuba Steve.
I wish his name was Steve, initial N Yarbrough. So people like, no, it's just Steve. We just call him Steven.
Steve N.
Steven.
Oh, that's funny.
Steve.
At the Garden Audio. Go follow the Garden Audio on Instagram. That is at the Garden Audio. Super easy. Go see what he's got going on over there. Go see what the studio looks like. Go see behind the scene pics. Go see. I mean, he shares stuff about his family. He shares stuff about gear. Like, fun, entertaining follow on Instagram. While you're over there, check out Simpler. We are at Simpler Pod on Facebook and Instagram. Go check out what's going on with us. We got fun memes. We've got quotes. We've got clips. We got the goods over there. We got figuring out that I'm actually just as old as Mike and Ryan because I'm in all their pictures whenever they were friends.
That's right.
So go see what's going on over there.
Next one, I'd like you to do it time correlating. So like if Ryan and I are in our mid-20s, whatever age you were at that time, add yourself into the picture at that.
Actually,
so if I was 25, Micah would be 19 and Pierce, you'd be 5.
I'd be 10. So if you're 25,
right. 10. Yeah, you're not. I'm not 20 years older than you.
Yeah, which would be a vastly different picture.
Yeah,
just 10-year-old in the background. Like, hey, I need to start editing myself like in the background.
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
Exactly. Where you're like, well, where's Pierce?
Like, where's Waldo?
I took a picture. Hannah and I went on a date to, which was now just our date place, is Rogue Kitchen. Have you guys been there in Wall?
No.
It's good. It's so good.
Yeah, you mentioned it.
Yeah. So this, we were there. I took a picture of her for Instagram, and somebody commented like, "Hand those people at the table behind you." I was like, well, that feels a little bit creepy now. Like, I wasn't even thinking there's people behind you. I was like, I'll take a picture of Hannah, and then people are just eating in the background.
This is so good.
Oh yeah. So we love you guys. We're thankful for you guys. I'm thankful for this podcast as well.
Yeah.
Thankful that we have the opportunity to have these conversations, and we're thankful that you guys want to join in the conversation. So wherever you see this post, comment and let us know what you're thankful for this year. We'd love to hear about how God is working through your life. May it be positive or negative. It's still the Lord is working through those things to shape us, to mold us, and to glorify himself. As always, keep Christ as core. What could be simpler than that? We'll catch y'all next week. Bye.